The Galactic Dominion's announcement echoed across the cosmos, transmitted on every frequency, in every language. Asterisk, the species-designated humanity, has been classified as a Level 2 sentient companion species. Effective immediately, Earth is under the stewardship of the Cathari Dominion. Compliance is mandatory. Asterisk, the Cathari had done this before. Dozens of species have been acquired, some as laborers, some as curiosities, some as pets. But humans? They were special, emotional, expressive, just intelligent enough to be amusing, but not enough to be a threat. Perfect. The invasion was effortless. Human militaries fired missiles, launched jets, scrambled defenses. None of it mattered. Cathari energy dampeners neutralized explosives midair. Gravitic pulses disabled electronics. Cities fell silent under shimmering containment fields. The harvest began. Humans were plucked from streets, homes, shelters, docile, confused, terrified. Some fought. A soldier in broken camouflage swung a rifle like a club before a Cathari drone stunned him limp. A scientist in a torn lab coat watched, calculating, as her captors marched her into a transport. A child, wide-eyed, clutched a stuffed animal as a Cathari guard gently, almost kindly, ushered her forward. The Cathari were not cruel masters. They believed in comfort, in control through contentment. Humans were placed in habitats, open, clean, filled with artificial sunlight and soft furnishings. Food synthesizers provided endless variations of their primitive cuisine. Entertainment screens displayed curated human media. The Cathari watched, amused, as their new pets reacted. Some cried, some raged, some just sat, staring at walls. High Overseer Vrakis observed from the command spire, mandibles twitching in satisfaction. See how quickly they adapt? Already they accept their place. Junior Scientist Cliff hesitated. Their history suggests otherwise. They have a pattern of... Of what? Vrakis scoffed. Primitive tribal wars? Chemical propellant weapons? They are clever, yes, but cleverness without power is meaningless. Clith's frill darkened, a sign of unease. They don't behave like prey. Vrakis dismissed the concern with a flick of his claw. Prey does not know it is prey until fangs are at its throat. Below, in the habitats, the humans were learning. The soldier flexed his hands, testing the limits of his enclosure's energy field. The scientist traced the seams of a food dispenser, memorizing its design. The child, now holding the hand of a curious Cathari youngling, listened as the alien babbled in clicking, melodic tones, and repeated them back perfectly. The habitats were designed to mimic Earth, rolling artificial meadows, false skies that shifted from dawn to dusk, even simulated rain. The Cathari called it enrichment. The humans called it a cage. At first, compliance seemed universal. The Cathari handlers documented how quickly humans adapted, how they ate the synthesized food, how they responded to voice commands, how they played with the toys provided. But the observers missed the details. The soldier didn't fight when his restraints were removed. He sat, still as stone, watching the guards' patrol patterns. The drones had blind spots. The energy fields flickered during shift changes. He filed it all away. The scientist asked for writing materials, a reasonable request. The Cathari provided a thin, glowing tablet, harmless, incapable of network access. She used it anyway, sketching schematics from memory, equations bleeding into the margins when the guards weren't looking. She tore the sheets into strips, folded them into precise shapes, tucked them into seams in her clothing. The child was the most surprising. The Cathari youngling, curious and unafraid, visited her daily, bringing small gifts, a shiny pebble, a piece of candy from the synthesizer. The child smiled, babbled back in broken clicks, and listened. The youngling didn't realize it was teaching her. Weeks passed. The Cathari grew complacent. Then the first incident happened. A power surge in Sector D7. Minor, barely worth noting. The drones reported it as a malfunction, faulty wiring in the habitat's lighting grid. But the surge happened precisely when a Cathari overseer was inspecting the sector. The lights died. For 3 minutes, the surveillance feeds showed nothing but static. When power returned, The overseer was unharmed. The humans were exactly where they should be. But the soldier's hands were no longer empty. Cliff reviewed the logs. This wasn't random, she insisted. The surge originated inside the habitat. A human triggered it. Vrakis waved a dismissive claw. Impossible. Their technology is primitive. They lack the knowledge to interface with our systems. They're learning, Cliff said. Vrakis laughed. Learning to what? Steal a drone? Overload a light panel? Let them try. It amuses me. He didn't see the scientist's fingers twitching against her leg. Counting down. He didn't see the soldier palming the sliver of metal he'd pried from the darkened control panel. He didn't hear the child whispering the Kthari word for weakness under her breath. The Kthari kept logs of everything. Human behavior, vocal patterns, even brainwave activity. But they never thought to log the silence. The humans were talking, just not where they could hear. The containment fields flickered again. This time it wasn't an accident. The soldier moved first. When a patrol drone passed his cell, he lunged, the stolen metal shard flashing in the artificial sunlight. The drone's casing split like fruit rind, spilling glowing components across the floor. He worked fast, twisting wires, bypassing safeties, improvising a weapon from scraps. Alarms blared. The Kthari response was immediate but predictable. More drones, more guards, standard pacification protocols. They didn't expect the fire. The scientist had been busy. Folded paper wasn't just paper anymore. It was origami shrapnel wrapped around stolen power cells. The first explosion tore through Sector D7's main corridor. The second took out a surveillance hub. By the third, the humans were running. Chaos spread faster than containment. The Kthari had planned for escape attempts, but not coordination, not strategy. They watched in disbelief as humans who'd never spoken to each other moved like a single organism, diverting guards, sabotaging systems, exploiting every weakness in the habitat's design. The child didn't run. She stood perfectly still near the central plaza, clutching her stuffed animal as panicked Kthari rushed past. When the youngling found her, she was crying. "They're hurting everyone," she sobbed in halting but perfectly accented clicks. The youngling hesitated, then reached out. Big mistake. The stuffed animal wasn't just fabric and stuffing anymore. The scientists had rebuilt it, woven conductive threads through its seams, packed its belly with components from a dozen stolen devices. The child's fingers found a hidden trigger, just as the youngling touched her shoulder. The shock wasn't lethal. It didn't need to be. As the youngling collapsed, the child calmly removed its comm bracelet. The scientist's voice crackled through the earpiece she'd made from folded foil. "We're in." Vrakis stared at the security feeds in growing horror. This wasn't rebellion. This was warfare. Humans weren't just escaping. They were dismantling the habitat piece by piece, turning Kthari technology against them. "Seal the sector," he roared. "Activate suppression fields." Clid's frill went black with dread. "We can't." They rerouted the power. "How? They're animals." "No," Clith whispered as another explosion rocked the complex. "Were the animals in here with them?" The lights went out. The last thing the security feed showed was a soldier stepping over a disabled drone, his makeshift blade dripping with fluorescent coolant. Then the screens went dark. Somewhere in the chaos, the child's voice echoed to the comm system, a perfect mimic of Rakis's own vocal patterns issuing stand-down orders. The command spire's doors exploded inward. Vrakis barely had time to register the smoking wreckage before the soldier was on him. The Kthari overseer raised his shock claw, a weapon that had subdued 100 species. But the human didn't flinch. The metal shard flashed once. Vrakis's forearm hit the floor with a wet thud. Behind the soldier, the scientist stepped through the smoke, her fingers dancing across a stolen control pad. Every screen in the spire lit up at once, broadcasting the same image across the entire Dominion network. Earth, blue and unbroken, with a single line of text in Kthari script. Asterisk, "You should have left us wild." Asterisk, the child's voice came through every speaker in perfect, mocking clicks. "Containment breach in all sectors. All security protocols have failed." Cliff backed against the viewport, her frill pulsing with terror. She'd been right. They'd all been wrong. The humans hadn't just escaped. They'd weaponized the entire habitat. Outside the spire's windows, the orbital facility burned. Human prisoners moved through the chaos with terrifying efficiency, turning drones against their masters, hacking life support systems, flooding corridors with sedative gas. The Kthari had built the perfect prison. The humans had made it a slaughterhouse. The scientist didn't look up from her work. Their homeworld's coordinates are in the navigation logs, she said. Transmitting now. The soldier wiped his blade clean on Vrakis's robes. Good. Let them know we're coming. Cliff found her voice. You'll never reach it. The Dominion has warships, defenses. The scientist smiled. We spent 3 months studying your technology. Do you really think we didn't leave back doors in every system? A shudder ran through the station. The main engines roared to life, not fleeing, but reorienting. The child's voice echoed to the spire again. Collision course locked. Vrakis gurgled through the pain, his remaining claws scrabbling at his severed stump. You'll die too. The soldier grabbed him by the throat. Worth it. The alarms changed pitch, no longer warning of containment breaches, but of impending impact. Cliff's mandibles clicked in desperate realization. They weren't just escaping. They were turning the entire station into a bomb. The scientist tossed the control pad aside. 5 minutes until we hit the jump gate. That's how long your people have to evacuate. She nodded to the child. Tell them. The little girl's voice became sweet, innocent, the perfect mimic of a Kthari youngling in distress. All personnel, Emergency Protocol Omega. Abandon station immediately. This is not a drill. Cliff ran. Behind her, the humans didn't move. The soldier watched the countdown. The scientist folded her hands. The child hummed a nursery rhyme. When the station tore through the jump gate at suicidal velocity, the resulting shockwave lit up 3 star systems. The Dominion Central Comm Hub went dark for 14 seconds, just long enough for Earth's remaining defense forces to receive a single transmission, coordinates, weaknesses, a battle plan. On 1,000 worlds, Kthari citizens watched in horror as their invincible dominion crumbled. The descending scientist's final warning spread through the networks like a virus. The shockwave from the jump gate detonation hadn't even dissipated when the first human warships pierced through the debris field. Not the primitive rockets the Kthari expected, but sleek, angular vessels built from reverse-engineered alien tech. Their hulls scorched from rush construction, their weapons hot from testing under fire. On the bridge of the lead ship, the soldier watched tactical displays light up with targets. His hands, still stained with fluorescent Kthari blood, danced across stolen interface controls. All battle groups, weapons free, hit their orbital docks first. The scientist's voice crackled through the comms, transmitting from a hijacked Dominion cruiser. Their shield harmonics cycle every 9.3 seconds. Time your strikes. The child's face appeared on a secondary screen, now speaking flawless galactic common. Broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies. Across the homeworld's defense perimeter, Kthari warships scrambled to intercept. They never stood a chance. Human railguns fired salvos of molten tungsten slugs at relativistic speeds, punching through energy shields like paper. Plasma conduits ruptured. Reactors went critical. The Dominion's mighty fleet burned in seconds. Cliff watched from the surface, her frill bleached white with horror. The transmissions showed humans boarding surviving ships not as conquerors, but as exterminators. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't accept surrenders. Every Kthari stronghold fell within hours. The child's voice echoed through every comm terminal on the planet. This is what happens when you cage what should be feared. Then the bombardment began, not with nukes or antimatter, but with iron rods dropped from orbit. Simple, brutal, unstoppable. Each impact sent seismic shockwaves through the crust. Cities collapsed like sandcastles. The Kthari's vaunted technology meant nothing against raw kinetic force. The soldier watched impassively as targeting systems painted the last remaining command bunker. Vrakis is down there. The scientist adjusted her glasses. Good. The child pressed the firing button. When the dust cleared, humanity didn't claim the Cthari homeworld. They didn't enslave the survivors or parade their victory. They simply left, but not before seeding every Dominion database with a final message. It spread to the galaxy faster than light, reaching every species that had ever bowed to Cthari. A single Earth year later, when the first alien diplomats arrived at Sol, they found Mars already being terraformed and a Dyson swarm under construction. The humans greeted them politely, offered trade agreements, even apologized for the mess they'd made of the Orion arm. But when the ambassadors asked why such a peaceful species had reacted so violently to captivity, the child, now standing with the soldier and scientist at humanity's first interstellar embassy, just smiled. The Galactic Council chambers fell silent when humanity's delegation entered. Representatives from 100 species watched with compound eyes and frilled appendages twitching as three familiar figures took their place at the central podium. The soldier stood at parade rest, his uniform crisp but bearing no rank insignia, just a simple black band of Earth's unified forces. The scientist carried no datapad, her hands empty to show she needed no reference materials. The child, now taller but still unsettlingly young, smiled with all the warmth of a loaded gun. "We come bearing terms," the soldier said, his voice carrying to the chamber's perfect acoustics without amplification. The Grother ambassador clicked its mandibles. "You destroyed an entire civilization." The scientist tilted her head. "We removed a threat." "You glassed their home world." The child blinked. "We left their colonies untouched." Her fingers tapped the podium, and holograms bloomed above it. Casualty reports, damage assessments, the precise math of orbital strikes. Precision, not cruelty. They'll rebuild differently. The chamber lights dimmed as the displays shifted to show Earth's new defense grid, a web of quantum-linked battle stations surrounding Sol, each capable of reducing a planet to slag. The soldier let them stare. "Our first lesson was for Cthari. This is for everyone else." The scientist took over, her voice calm as she recited numbers. Current human population, industrial output, warship production rates. The figures climbed exponentially. "In 5 years, we'll outproduce the entire council combined. In 10, we'll surpass your cumulative firepower." The child stepped forward. "But we don't want to." "Silence." Then the tail representative stood, its forearms spread in supplication. "What do you want?" The soldier smiled. "Nothing from you." The scientist adjusted her glasses. "Just your understanding." The child finished. "That Earth isn't a petitioning member of your council." The holograms changed again, showing humanity's ships already departing for uncharted space, construction platforms assembling something massive in the void between galaxies. "We're informing you," the soldier said, "not asking." The scientist tapped her wrist. A countdown appeared above the podium. "You have 6 standard months to withdraw all forces from the Orion arm. After that..." The child grinned. "Well, you remember what happened last time." When the delegation left, the council scrambled to analyze the threat. They dissected every word, every gesture, every implied meaning. They missed the truth entirely. The soldier boarded their ship, rubbing his temple. Christ, that posturing was exhausting. The scientist snorted. "You almost smile when you threaten them." The child flopped into a chair, suddenly looking every bit her age. "Did we sell it?" Outside the viewport, the construction platforms were just that. Construction platforms, building colony ships, not weapons. The defense grid around Sol was 70% holograms and 30% prototype satellites. The scientist patted the child's head. "They'll spend decades preparing for an attack that's never coming." The soldier laughed. "While we're busy actually expanding." And as their ship jumped to FTL, one truth became undeniable. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. Fear was, after all, an excellent motivator, and humanity had learned to weaponize even that.